Hey, leaders, welcome to the People Power Project podcast. I'm your host, Morgan Carey, CEO of Morgan Carey Consulting Solutions, Chief HR Strategist, and advocate for Build a Better Workplaces. This podcast is all about empowering the leader in you, whether you're an individual contributor, a manager, or a business owner, to build better, safer, and more enjoyable work environments. Together, we'll reinvent HR and develop outstanding leadership by promoting accountability and exploring ways to foster growth for the busy business leader. Thinking about a career in HR, or maybe you're already in the field but looking for guidance on how to level up, trying to get the HR job for HR experience and they keep asking you to already have HR experience? The MCCS People Power Project Circle is your go-to resource for HR career growth. Whether you're transitioning into HR or looking to sharpen your expertise, we provide mentorship, career coaching, and real-world HR solutions to help you navigate the path to success. So don't just dream about your HR career, build it yourself, just like I did. Visit Morgan Carey Consulting Solutions and learn more and join the community today. I'm so excited today because joining me is a passionate business executive, entrepreneur, coach, and advocate for transformative leadership. With over 40 years in the fashion industry, she has led multi-million-dollar retail programs, managed high-performing teams, and redefined leadership through trust, collaboration, and authenticity. She is the founder of Love How Good You Feel, a wellness and lifestyle brand dedicated to optimizing mind and body through proven wellness strategies and sustainable lifestyle changes. As a director of a luxury retail brand, she oversees $1 billion in annual sales. She has led 27 district leaders and 500 brand managers. She also spearheaded strategic retail initiatives at Jones Apparel Group and Ralph Lauren, managing a $300 million program with Macy's Inc. to drive brand growth. As a certified business coach in Burnout to All Out Lead Gen Academy, she helps professionals and entrepreneurs develop skills to master client lead generation and create a captivating personal brand on LinkedIn. And that's not all. As if that wasn't enough, she is a children's book author. The Adventures of Rocky series, which is inspired by her beloved poodle Rocky, has gone viral on social media. The series, which includes Don't Be Bullied Rocky, Don't Worry Rocky, and Don't Be Afraid Rocky, teaches children essential lessons about courage, self-belief, and kindness. She is the perfect guest to kick off our conversation today about heart-filled leadership. She is Deirdre Palm Adams. Welcome to the show, Deirdre. I'm
Thank you
so happy to
so
have you.
much. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. That was so fun. Thank you for that.
Was it fun to hear all those
Oh
things?
my gosh. Yes. Thank you. It was a lot of fun for sure.
Absolutely. Deirdre, today we are diving into a leadership style that defies outdated norms, one that blends compassion with confidence, softness with strength. We talked a little bit about this in our introductory conversation to each other, and we talked about how it's all about leading with heart while remaining unshakable in your decisions and authority, and given all the wonderful things I just read off in your intro, I could not think of a better person to have this conversation with today.
Thank you.
So, let's get into it. Okay. So, Deirdre, I'd love to hear your perspective. When you hear the phrase soft yet unshakable, what does that mean to you?
Well, don't you love that? Soft yet unshakable.
I love it.
I know, but it really defines in today's world what leadership is all about, right? So leading with energy, intention, and heart, that
Yeah.
is really, and you also have to stay focused and firm on your boundaries. So it's not about letting your boundaries go, right? You have to be, part of that as well. But it's the essence of modern leadership today. So it's about having inner strength to guide really, your team with clarity, conviction, but also warmth and humanity because you want to inspire trust in your team. So,
Yeah.
over my years, you talked about my 40 years, I've seen firsthand that leadership driven by fear and control, it's so outdated, it's so ineffective. Real
It's out of style.
it's done. It's out of style. Exactly. So real strength today, it comes from alignment where your energy fuels trust, your intention fuels clarity, and your heart fosters true loyalty from your team.
Yeah.
So it's about owning your presence, creating an environment where people feel seen, right? I see you. They feel
Yeah.
valued, they feel empowered, and they stand unshakable.
Yeah.
And it's your vision to lead with compassion, not control. And that's what
That's
people are
right.
really responding to today. It's so refreshing because over the years, I've always led that way, always. And today it's really in style. So I love that it's finally come of age.
Absolutely. Compassion, not control. I love that.
Yeah.
Love that so much because many leaders still equate like soft with weak,
Yeah.
but you and I both know that's a myth, right? Have you ever seen compassionate leadership actually strengthen teams
For
and
sure.
drive business success? I'm sure. Tell us
It's
about
what it
that.
does. In fact, I love this question. I love when we talk about, is soft leadership effective, right? I am actually doing a project right now. I'm writing a new book. It's not out yet, but it's in the hands of a few
Congratulations.
publishers. Yeah, it's exciting, but it dives into this question about leading with energy, intention, and heart. It breaks down the myth. Is compassion a weakness in leadership? No, it's definitely not. The truth is that most successful leaders today are the ones who balance both firm decision making with a people centric approach. So,
Yeah.
compassionate leadership, it's not about being soft, it's about being intentional. Right?
Yeah.
So leaders who rule with fear, they might get short-term compliance from their team, but they're never ever going to get commitment and long-term loyalty. They're just not. So when you lead with heart, you create trust, you create alignment, people step up because they want to work for you, not because they're afraid and they have to do it because they don't know anything else. So throughout the years, I've seen this over and over again in my career, that when I prioritize energy and intention, and when I made sure that my leadership was grounded rather than reactive, teams thrived. They worked harder, they were more creative, and more importantly, they were fulfilled, which is awesome. So that's where the
More
magic
fulfilled
happens.
people. Absolutely. We need fulfilled people in the workplace. If not fulfilled, it's really, really hard to
Yeah.
build these better workplaces. So, can you share a moment in your career when leading with empathy led to game-changing results?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I have so many examples, but early on in my career, before I really knew what all this meant, right? I didn't really know what it all meant. I had an employee who was just disconnected. Like I felt the energy was missing. She wasn't really engaged with the team. She was missing deadlines, all the signs that something's not right. And my leader was telling me, you need to counsel her. You need to really sit down and have a conversation with her that she's not performing. So instead of that, I said, you know what? I don't know if reprimanding is really the right way to go right now. So I leaned in with intention and I pulled her aside and I said, you know what? I see you. I see what's going on. And tell me, what is going on with you? Is there something going on? And that conversation changed everything in our relationship and everything. She opened up about a really difficult personal challenge that she was facing. It was a crisis, quite frankly. And she was so afraid to say anything and talk about it because she thought she would look weak, look unprofessional. And because I created that safe space where she could really come and talk about it and get it out, we found a solution together. So, I offered support. I adjusted her schedule a little bit, her workload temporarily, gave her some space, and she rebounded. She came back stronger than ever. And it just not only was great for her, but it was great for the team to see as well that, you really have to find out what's happening in people's entire life because that's what they bring to work every day. It really is.
Their
So,
whole selves, right? Whatever's
yeah.
going on at home, whatever's going on in family, whatever's going on in their mind, it comes to work with them no matter how much they try to leave it at the door. That idea is really hard to people say it, but it's hard to come by. Really people being able to leave it at the door. And I think trust, empathy, and emotional agility is what really helps to bring stronger performance. But there's a leader somewhere probably thinking like, yeah, but if I do this all the time, someone may take advantage. What do you say to that leader that's worried about that?
Well, taking advantage, you got to set boundaries. I mean, you certainly want to make sure that you're not creating an environment where people could just get away with anything. Of course not. There's rules, there's job descriptions, there's accountabilities. We all have them. So you have to stay true to that, but you want to make sure that if there is something really not aligned, like you feel that alignment is off, the energy's not there, you want to make sure that you take the time with that employee and really address that with them before you immediately go in for the, criticism of their
Yeah.
work. Because then they get defensive. And so I always like to dig in a little bit first. And sometimes you do. Hey, listen, if through all that there was still a need for discipline, absolutely. There's no
Yeah.
question. It doesn't mean you never discipline an employee. However, you need to understand the bigger picture first.
Exactly. Sounds like there has to be a balance of authority and compassion, right? And with that, with anything else, with everything, there is definitely a need for balance. And as leaders, we have to make tough decisions like hiring, firing, restructuring, giving those disciplines.
Oh my God.
How do you balance making sure you're being an empathetic leader
Yeah,
while
well,
still holding the people accountable?
for sure. I mean, leading with empathy doesn't mean you're avoiding decisions, tough decisions, or any of that. It just means that you're going to handle it with integrity, intention. I've had to make so many difficult calls in my career. I mean, oh my gosh. I have had so many team members that, of course, were not right for the role, no question about it. But then there's others that you know that with a little compassion that you can really lead them along the way. So you have to make those choices. I've always led with one guiding principle that compassion and clarity are not opposites. You can be firm, but you need to be fair, right?
Yeah.
So the key to energy is really setting boundaries, sticking with them, and then having your team really understand the boundaries. And then if they need support, of course, offer that and find out what's happening there.
Yeah, I get a lot of phone calls, friends sometimes, clients also, and they will say, "Hey, Morgan, I got this team member that's doing XYZ." They give me an example and they want to know, how do I approach it? In other words, they're asking me what to say. How do I open the conversation?
So
Or how do
hard.
I close the conversation? And if they say this, what do I say next? Many times people are asking me kind of for a script. So, what is your approach? You got an employee who's not performing well. You haven't talked to them yet. You gave us a little bit when you gave the example just now. But if someone asked you for a script of how you handle a difficult conversation with grace but firmness, what does that opening look like?
So I can't say I have a script because everyone's different. So you
Yeah.
need to really dig into individuality. So if you treat everyone the same, you're probably going to get very different results.
Yeah.
Right? So if you treat everyone differently, you're probably going to get more of a synergy on the team because you're going to
Yeah.
understand. You have to understand where people's weaknesses are and where their strengths are. But I always set the tone with energy. Energy is my favorite word. So before any difficult conversation, I check in with myself and I say, am I bringing frustration or alignment to this conversation? Because the energy that I'm going to bring is going to shape the outcome of the whole conversation, right? And then I lead with clarity, not emotion. So I have to be honest, specific about the challenges. I always avoid vague feedback like, oh, Morgan, you need to improve, right? No, no, no.
Yeah.
Instead, I say, I noticed that just for example, the deadlines and are, you're slipping on deadlines and that's affecting the productivity of the entire team. So let's talk about that. What exactly is going on? And try to get their perspective before you instantly judge. I
Yeah.
love to bring compassion to the conversation because I always like to assume positive intent. I love to lead with positivity because most people, I truly believe, don't want to fail. They just don't want to fail. So, collaboration is also another great word. So, instead of just pointing out issues that are wrong, let's offer a path forward together and then ask the question like, how can we fix this together? So, it shifts the dynamic from blaming them to problem solving. So,
Yeah.
make them part of the solution. And I think that really helps and always hold space for growth. So, accountability isn't about punishment, it's about alignment. So empathy and accountability, they're not opposites either. In fact, they always go hand in hand. And when you set clear expectations from the start, people know where they stand. They know what's expected, and there's less need for difficult conversations later. That's a beautiful thing, right?
I love that you mentioned not really going with a script and that every situation is different. As an HR professional, many times I'm leading and organizations will say, well, what about doing this and make sure we do it this way for every person? And it just doesn't work that way. It's not, I don't have, most of the time, I don't have a black and white answer. I don't have a way to say we're going to do this every single time, no matter who the person is, because everybody's coming with something different.
Sure.
Everybody has a different story and what works for this person. Now, of course, you got guidelines and practices and things like that to help you stay compliant, right? But having a conversation and starting with heart, I took a communication class one time, and one of the ways to have a difficult conversation was to start with heart. That's why I love this topic. But many people don't know how to do that, and they think if they do that, it will seem like they're too soft and that they're going to be a pushover in this conversation. And I find that organizationally as well. So not every organization embraces this leadership style.
No.
What would you say to a C-suite executive who
Yeah.
still believes leadership should be tough and detached?
Yeah. So That has been my story. So it is very difficult to find C-suite leaders to understand really what happens in the field, right? What happens behind the ivory tower. So I would always say to my leaders, if you're leading for short-term results, then you lead with fear and intimidation. That'll work every time. But if you want long-term loyalty and respect from your team, you really have to lead with compassion. So today's workforce has evolved so much, Morgan. They're not tolerating that anymore. They're just
Yeah,
not.
I'm out of here. They're like, I'm out of here.
They're done. They're done. Toxicity in the workplace is not accepted, and people are rejecting it. And if you're choosing purpose over paychecks, the leadership doesn't evolve, they're going to fail to attract the right talent. And your competition is out there and they are absolutely choosing to be more heart-centered in their leadership. So in order for retention, it's critical. So it is the way of the world today. But over the years that I have been in leadership, it has been a struggle to really make sure that you have the autonomy to really decide on when you bring heart into the conversation and leadership.
Yeah. And what are maybe some practical steps? Because like we can kind of tell them you should lead with empathy and this and that, but what does that look like practically? What steps can they take to introduce more of that empathy into their leadership approach?
So no matter what, I always start with energy, right? So check yourself before any conversation, any meeting. I always start before any conversation. What am I bringing? Am I bringing stress into this, or am I bringing clarity, right? Am I bringing positive energy, or am I bringing confusion? So you have to do a check, because sometimes you're leaders are getting information left and right. So they have to make sure they're checking your energy, right? So and then second thing is you want to normalize transparency. So you want to be vulnerable. So it's okay to say, I don't have all the answers, but I can trust that my team can provide some of the support and clarity. So that creates empowerment with your team. So you want to make sure that you're giving them an opportunity to really, give their opinion. I always encourage self-awareness in leaders. And it's really funny because sometimes when leaders get to the very top of organizations, they lose self-awareness. I don't know why, but they do. So the best leaders regulate their own emotions first. Because if you can't lead yourself, you cannot lead others. There's no question about it.
Absolutely not.
So, and then here's a good one. This took me a really long time to learn, Morgan. Listen before you speak. Right?
But I've heard that a lot when you're in the theme of how you're talking here. It's a lot of listening going on. If you're asking questions, you got to be listening.
It took me a while to figure this one out. It did. It took me some decades to do this, but leaders who listen more, and they can gain you learn so much from your team if you just listen to what's going on. And I always say that if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room, right? You want to make sure that you value their opinion as well.
I love that, Deirdre. I'm gonna write it down.
Yeah.
If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
You're in the wrong room, no doubt. And you want to give feedback with care. Like you want to make sure that when you're having conversations about feedback, everyone needs feedback, right? But are you empowering them or are you tearing them down? Are you giving them an opportunity to really grow from the conversation and not just really defeat them and deflate them? So that's kind of like a big picture of how I approach it.
I love it. You talk a lot about energy, and I love that because I do too. It's like if the energy is off, I can tell, and I can speak on it. The energy isn't right in here, right? And how do leaders bring that energy in the room? Because you gave some practical steps, but I don't think it starts there. Like today, I really feel like you have to be working on yourself. It's almost like if you're performing, your best performance shouldn't be happening right there on the stage when it's go time, right? You have to do something outside of that showtime.
You're exactly right.
What does that look like?
So it's so funny you use showtime because in retail, we talk a lot about being on stage, right? So when you're out on engaging with clients and customers, you're on stage. So it starts before you walk on stage. It starts before you walk into the room. Your energy speaks before you do. So have you ever been in a meeting where you see a leader come in and you just see them? They're frazzled. They're stressed out. They're disengaged. The whole team in the room feels it. And then they're all like this. Like, what is happening? Where is this energy going?
What is going to happen?
Everyone gets on guard, gets defensive. So your energy really is your brand. It's your brand as a leader, right? So people feel your presence before you say a word. So a simple practice I like to use is I always ask myself these questions. How do I want to show up? What energy do I want to bring into the room? And what is the outcome I want to create from this? Right? I even did it before this interview with you. Like, what energy do I want to bring? Always ask yourself that. And it's really a good self reflection to ground yourself. And then you get more intentional on exactly what the purpose is of whatever the conversation, meeting, whatever it may be. So when you lead with intention, confidence naturally follows. There's no question. It brings confidence to the room.
I love that. I love that. A personal leadership presence. And something you said that really stuck out to me just now. You dropping all the little gems. I'm right. I'm getting a lesson on this podcast episode. Okay. Your energy is your
Oh,
brand.
yeah.
People should pay more attention. Leadership, C-suite executives, they should pay more attention to what is your brand, not just the brand of the company you're representing or you work for. What is your brand as a leader? Because it's going to set the tone for the.
So I have
Yeah.
a couple brands. So big picture, people would, I would hope they would see my brand is I have a brand called Love How Good You Feel. And the reason I say that is because I work in an industry that is all about image, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot about how you look. So I like to shift that and say, you know what? It's not always how you look. It's how you, if you look, people say if you look good, you feel good. No, I think if you feel good, you look good. So it's
Mm-hmm.
how you feel. So I always want to lead from positivity. I want to make sure that my brand always speaks to the good in people and that will bring more of that forward. And if I make my team feel good, they will outperform all the time. We are in a service-based industry, and if they don't feel good, they're not going to feel good about customer experience.
Yeah.
So you have to bring it on to the client, and you can't do that if you don't feel good. So my brand is really about love how good you feel every day.
Love how good you feel. I
Love
love
how
that.
good you feel. Set the intention, get yourself in the right mindset every day. Don't allow, it's so funny because we always have that one experience where somebody sets you off and then you're like, oh, the whole day's ruined. The whole day's done, right? So
Yeah.
I try to choose again. Choose another thought. Choose again. Think of something you're grateful for. It's so silly, but it works. Think of something that makes you feel good, and all of a sudden you have a whole different perspective on that little moment in time.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. I love it. I think gratitude, I think I said one time before that attitude of gratitude, we've heard that before, is the key, right?
Yeah.
But I've said before, it's really hard to think about negative things when you're thinking about positive things, and most at the same time. And most people are thinking about something positive if they're saying, I'm grateful for this. So, like you said, if you try to shift your mind from that negative thing that just happened to something positive, one of the best ways to do it, I think, is to say what you're grateful for. Instead of just trying to take your mind to something positive, start the sentence. I'm grateful for, and now your mind is on something positive, right? And it gives
100%.
you that shift for the day.
Gratitude interrupts anxiety. So if you're feeling anxious about anything, I
Yeah.
mean, that's why pets are so great, right? Dogs are so great because
Oh, Rocky.
I mean, you're having a bad day, you go see your pet, and all of a sudden they're just so grateful for you. No matter what, they love you. So it just interrupts anxiety in any way. So always think about something positive can put a shift in your day. But my team always speaks that of me, that I'm very positive and I make them feel good about their jobs and about everything. But trust me, there's always days when, of course, you have to lead with, more direction for the team. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
If there is one piece of advice you could give to a leader who wants to be soft, right? They want to lead with empathy, but they struggle with that. And they want to be soft yet unshakable. What would it be?
Soft but unshakable. Set boundaries, have clarity, set expectations so that there's real, it's not just you can do anything you want, but you want to make sure that you always step back, reanalyze, and then ask them what's happening first.
Yeah.
Don't set the intention where you walk in and say, I know you did this wrong and you're going to have to change.
Yeah.
Maybe if you just go in and say, hey, what's happening here? And always really go in and ask what is the situation, because you never know what could come out of it. Maybe it's something I did as a leader, right? That I need to be
Mhm.
aware of. Maybe it's something a teammate did to them. Maybe it's something a client did. Whatever it is, you want to get to the root of it before you make assumptions.
Yeah. I love that because, if you go to the doctor's office, I was just recently in a class and a sales class, and she was talking about how you have to be the doctor. right? When you are wanting to help someone and serve them. And it's the same with leadership, right? Asking those questions. Because if you go in the doctor's office and you're like, hey, I'm having headaches, and they say, okay, take 3 Excedrin every day, they haven't asked you one question. You're like, I don't want to take 3 Excedrin. How do you even know what my issue is? How do you know Excedrin is going to fix it? Do I need a scan or whatever? Leadership, I think, works a lot
It's
like that.
good.
If you don't know what's going on, what happened, you do no type of discovery, how can you make a diagnosis?
That is really good. I love that. And you have to dig into the symptoms before you understand what the real problem is. And that's
Yeah,
good. I love
yes.
that. I'm stealing that one.
Deirdre, I want to thank you so much for this conversation. I know we could probably go on and on and on about leadership, soft and unshakable, and how to help
So
these
fun.
people show up with more empathy and help the C-suite people lead with more empathy and compassion, but we can't keep the people too long.
Thank you
But I
so
know
much.
Thank you. I know leaders are going to want to share this episode. They're going to get some help from your insights. Where can people find you and learn more about your work? Because you got so much going. You already said you got a book coming. People might want to find the Rocky series. Let us know how we can find it.
So I have a website. It's deirdrepalmadams.com. So that's my central hub for everything I do. But LinkedIn is really my jam. LinkedIn is where I really celebrate all my leadership advice, support. That's really where all of my energy is as far as learning more. I learned so much on LinkedIn. It's the most amazing platform. So
Yeah.
LinkedIn, it's deirdrepalmadams.com. I have an Empathy Edge newsletter that I have out that we produce weekly. Really great tips for leading with energy, intention, and heart.
I love that. And I look forward to seeing more and more of your work. Can't wait till the book comes out. And make sure you send me all that information because I'm going to put it in the show notes so people can just click and get right to you.
This
Okay?
was amazing. Thank you, Morgan. I admire you so much. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much for saying that. That warms my heart.
Yeah, you're a powerhouse. You really are.
And what else people can find in the show description is if you have ever wanted to start a podcast and do what we're doing here today, but you didn't know where to begin, or maybe you've already started one, but you're struggling to grow your audience or make money from it, that's where my 7-figure podcast comes in. With this program, you'll get access to a step-by-step course, a supportive community of podcasters just like you, weekly live Q&As, and Wednesday lives to guide you through every part of your podcasting journey. I love, love, love this group. I have gotten so much from the education provided. And so whether you're just getting started or ready to take your show to the next level, this is your chance to make podcasting work for you. Use the link in the show description to sign up today. And if this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend, a coworker, or even your manager. And don't forget to subscribe to the People Power Project podcast for more inspiring and actionable episodes. Follow me on Instagram at Morgan_Carey Consulting and tag me with your thoughts using hashtag People Power Project Podcast. Until then, remember, people empowered workspaces are simply the best workplaces. I'll see you next week.
Bye.